All right. Everybody is muted. I'm Melissa Shaver, Emerald Ambassador, and this is Gym Explosion team training call tonight. And guys, I am so excited for tonight. And I want to share just a little bit with you real quick before I hand it over to Erin Bush. Erin Bush is Sapphire Ambassador. You guys already know that I have a girl crush on her because I've already confessed that on our team page. But wanted to share a little bit about Erin and just how I was introduced to her. You've heard me say 110 times over, if you've ever been in my coaching groups, if you've ever been part of our trainings, to make sure that you have people that are coaching you, that you have mentors. We've talked about how that can be done through reading specific books and following those people, or having mentors within different groups and things like that. And Erin and I met when I turned Jewel, whenever I turned Emerald last March, so it is a year anniversary for me. I was introduced to her just on our team, Jewel team pages, the really large one. And we were put into a group together, a support group together, and I immediately fell in love with her heart, her love for the Lord, her authenticity, her incredible ability to be really real, and how that attracts people. Like everything that we've ever heard through John Maxwell and the different ones, she modeled that as far as attraction and vulnerability and the ability to be authentic, etc. And I truly consider her a mentor to me. Do we meet every week? Absolutely not. But I listen to every one of her trainings. I follow her. And she's someone that I really highly look up to and respect. And so I'm very excited. She is in Tulsa, Oklahoma. So she's just north of the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And I'm so excited, Erin, that you said yes to being on the call with us tonight. I cannot wait for you to hear her story and just what she's going to bring us tonight. So I hope that you have pen and paper. And Erin, I'm going to hand it over to you.
Wow, Melissa, thank you so much. That was, I just don't even know what to say. My goodness, but I have seen in your fearless leader here a steadfast belief and leadership that you guys want to duplicate, because Melissa has a heart for you and you have got to hold on to that and follow her. When you have somebody that believes in you so deeply, you guys, that's who you want to be around. So make sure you are listening to what your fearless leader is telling you guys, and duplicate her. Just such, really steadfast, just kind of is the word in my mind for you. And just, I've been blessed by you as well. In our little group, you were stepped up and were the leader, and I've loved you ever since. Okay, well, guys, I'm going to start with my story. I am a high school English teacher by trade, and I absolutely loved it. It was my pride and my joy. Before I had kids, I poured every ounce of my energy into those students, and mentoring them and coaching them through life. Teaching English literature and writing was not the crux of what I did. It wasn't the root. It wasn't the foundation. It was pouring into these young lives who had such hope and big dreams, and that I just loved it. Well, then when I had kiddos, I stayed home, and over the course of time lost myself. I actually think I kind of lost myself before I lost my health, but it was when I lost my health that I truly became, year after year, in a deeper and darker place that I saw no hope of getting out of. I've spent thousands of dollars on natural supplements and on naturopaths, and sought out specialists, and could not get a hold of the symptoms of the chronic illness that I suffered from. And instead of, you guys, we have a choice. When adversity comes, it can either make us bitter, or it can make us better, stronger, with fortitude. And I let it make me bitter. So I had come to a place where physically going to church was difficult. Sitting through a church service was difficult, so I wouldn't go. Reading my Bible and having a quiet time was impossible because of severe brain fog. You guys, I'm an English teacher by heart, and I couldn't even read a novel because I couldn't concentrate long enough to do so. I was surviving through naps and massive amounts of caffeine, asking my young daughter to watch my younger kids while I slept. Making dinner could only occur if I didn't also have to go run errands earlier in the day. I got to the point where I was so bad that I would park my car at Target and I would shuffle over to the wheelchair ramp to go up it because I could not step up and down. So in all aspects of my life, I had lost myself. I was living in fear, living in constant worry, living in a very dark place, feeling helpless and completely hopeless. I have a relationship with Christ, and it was faltering. And I really believe it had a lot to do with even physically where I was. My poor husband took on all burdens, and he was willing to do absolutely anything to help me get better. So we spent a lot of money trying to help me get better. Then what's kind of interesting is we moved to Oklahoma, and I thought my health really hit a really bad point. Like, I was scared that first year in Oklahoma. But so much of it I knew already was mindset, who I had been. I didn't like who I was anymore. And it wasn't just physical, it was inside. So I told my husband, all 3 kids are going to be in school. How about I go back to teaching? And he was like, I don't know how you're going to do it, but whatever works, honey. So I applied for a job to work part-time at my kid's school and to teach part-time. And when the principal called to tell me I got the job, I was elated. And 5 minutes later, I was weeping on the floor of my bathroom because I did not see how I could possibly get up in the morning and get to work and teach 4 classes and come home. I mean, I was so bad physically. So it was during one of those weeping sessions, because I went back and forth for like 3 weeks. Do I call and tell them I can't do this so that they have enough time to find somebody to replace me? And it was one of these weeping sessions on the floor of my bathroom that I cried out to God, and I asked him to use my body, use my unhealthy, ugly, unattractive, these are my exact words, unhealthy, unattractive, ugly body for his good. Use me. And you guys, I'm shocked. It was 5 days later, one of my former students actually, and a very good friend of mine, posted about Plexus. It did not take me long to order. In the course of my life, in those last 8 years of getting worse, the mind and the body, there were some things that gave me a little high, caffeine and sugar being most of them. So when I read that Slim might help control sugar cravings, that I was all over that. You guys, I detoxed from day one. But what is so interesting is I was scared, but I was scared more about my health than I was about taking a supplement. I'd taken a lot of those. I ordered 2 3-day trials. And after 2 3-day trials, those 6 days, I thought, well, I've been sick a long time. I should try it for a month. So I bought a bag of Slim. And after a month, I thought, well, I've been sick a really long time. I think I'm going to commit to 3 months. And then about 2 months in, I thought, well, I've been sick a really, really long time. I think I'm going to commit to 6 months. So there really was a gradual movement towards realizing that this was not an overnight thing. And part of it was my family, because my husband kept saying, you are better. you are better. And I was like, no, I'm not. Scale hasn't moved. I don't feel any different. I still need a nap every day. I'm not better. But when my daughter came to me, she was 12 at the time, and she hugged me and she was crying and she said, I like who you are now. I thought, okay, maybe there's something to this. So that was when I became a wholesale ambassador, a grumpy, irritated wholesale ambassador. And I was added to about 10 million team pages. So my first little tidbit for you guys is don't add your wholesalers to 10 million team pages. Add them to one that will build their belief. So I went to my sponsor and I'm like, who are these people who are welcoming me? And I didn't say a word back. I did not say thank you. I did not say any glad to be here because I wasn't. I didn't say a word. And she said, well, just unfollow them. And so I did all but one. And over time, though, I'm lurking, guys. I'm lurking on the team page, and I'm watching people post. At this time, I was taking Slim, and I had bought the big welcome pack, the big $199 welcome pack, but I had only used anything but Slim. And then I decided I'd try the BioCleanse. So I pulled out BioCleanse and started taking it. But I was still on a very expensive refrigerated probiotic that one of my naturopaths in California had put me on. And I kept saying, I do not know what these people do not know what they're talking about. They do not realize that ProBio 5, that it should be refrigerated if it's any good. And you guys, I bet I told my sponsor 1,000 times this isn't working. Told her, these people don't know what they're talking about. They just want to sell a product. These people just want to make money. Horror of horrors, right? But remember who I was. And this pride and this fear and this misery and this bitterness that I had become. And she just loved on me where I was at. She may have on the sidelines been going, oh my gosh, I got another message from Erin. You know these people, you've had them yourself. I was that person, you guys. And I'm a Sapphire ambassador with Plexus. Don't you ever judge anyone. So she just continued to love on me. And she would say things like, you know, I'm really liking it. I'm really liking ProBio 5. You sure you don't want to try it? Just so gentle, so gentle. So I took one, and I went into massive die-off, like headaches. Just one ProBio 5. So then I was sure it wasn't working, right? But all this time, I'm lurking on the team page. You know what's happening? My belief is being built. Slowly but surely. So I became a reluctant sharer. There was a special. I said, hey, I'm taking Plexus. Here's the link. You might like it. The end. Then I'd post here. Then I'd post there. No big, not committed at all. It was 4 months in, on that 4th month, and a 4 consistent month, which, by the way, I had quit twice during that 4-month period. But in that 4th month, where I started being able to get through the detox enough that I was taking ProBio 5 every day, 1 capsule every day, that things completely changed. It was like the perfect storm in my body, and that brain fog was gone, and I could concentrate, and I felt good, and I felt happier than I had in a long period of time. And I started exercising in the evening, something I couldn't do before. And I don't mean like getting on there and, beast mode, guys. No, you're talking about somebody with chronic illness and chronic pain. That could not happen. I mean, just walking around the block was now possible. So it was at that time that I started to share a little more consistently, like maybe once a week. And somewhere around the end of Thanksgiving, something different happened. And I felt like God was telling me I had an obligation to stop hiding and pretending all was well on Facebook and tell where I had been and where I was now. It was the scariest moment of my life. I told my husband, I think I'm supposed to do this. He said, maybe you'll get your products paid for. Go for it. I said, well, I think I'm supposed to tell everybody how I've been hiding from them. How when I go to Southern California in my hometown, I hide in my parents' house and I don't leave because I'm afraid of seeing people from high school and from youth group and from my early college days, and they see who I've become. I think God wants me to tell how bad it was, and I was terrified. But I did it. Thanksgiving weekend, Black Friday, I drew my line in the sand, but what's funny is it had nothing to do with the business. I wasn't going to say a word. All it had to do with were the products and being honest and authentic and vulnerable as to where I had been and where I am now. So I did. I drew my line in the sand, Thanksgiving 2014. But you guys, even though I went silver that weekend and people started coming to me and asking questions and I was passionate, I really believe my passion kind of helped me through the vomiting plexus on everybody. There was so much more work to occur. And this happened around the time, it must have been around October, maybe December, somewhere around there, after Thanksgiving, where I was still being periodically negative on the team pages. Didn't have my own team page or anything like that. And Melissa Eichenhorst, who is my Diamond Upline, sent me a message and said, I try really hard to keep my team page positive. Can you be a little more positive on the team page? She didn't delete me, which she could have, and I probably deserved it. She told me what I was being like, and it was like a mirror up in my face. And I thought, my gosh, who had I become? This person who had poured years into coaching and mentoring and discipling students. My whole life revolved around breathing life into them. And I was not breathing anything into myself to the point of bitterness and misery and darkness in my soul. So I'm going to say straight up, part of my income producing activity had to be a change in mindset. It had to be. It does not bring me new ambassadors, maybe harvest down the road, but you guys, it is not about the six-figure income. It is not about the Lexus. It is not about a free Hawaii trip. It is not even about financial freedom. Do you know what it's about? It is about your journey from here to there and beyond. It is about the journey. It's about who you become. Because adversity and obstacle and difficulties and changing your mindset, you have to do all that in order to be a successful leader and a jewel in plexus. You do. You have to. Some people start out further along than someone like me. They already know how to be a good friend. I didn't know how. You guys, when something good would happen to somebody on Facebook who was my friend, I could handle one time. The second time, I'm looking at them sideways. The third time they talk about something great in their life on Facebook, delete. I was deleting people. I had like 450 friends, just, friends from elementary school, high school, work, whatever. I was down to 185 when I drew my line in the sand. 185. Because I deleted that many people because of the good things happening in their life. You want to talk about the people who don't ever congratulate you when you rank? Yeah. That was me, guys. So love them where they are at. I don't care. It's not about you. It is about them. So love them where they're at. Okay, so let's talk about why should you be worried about your mindset? Well, because emotions are fickle, you guys. Our mindset has a lot to do with our emotions. I have heard people, Christ is a huge portion of my business. This business was literally given to me by God. And even if I never made any money, it doesn't matter. It is still about God first. It is about the work He's done in my life for 2 years. That work is what I will take with me into heaven. Not the six-figure income, not the Lexus, not the Hawaii trip, not financial freedom for my family. None of that comes with me. What comes with me to heaven is the journey I have been on and who I have become during that time. Same with you. All right, so I hear people say, They're so gung-ho. They're absolutely certain Plexus business is God's will for their life. And then they hit a bump. And then they hit another bump and another bump and another bump and another bump. And you know what I hear? This must not be God's will for me. Give me a break. Did you pay $34.95 for a website and start working it? Then you had your sign. There's your sign, people. If you God has given us such freedom, and we bind and box him into the box we want with our feelings and our emotions. God has given you the freedom to live where you want, do the job that you want, have as many kids as you want. I mean, he's given us so much freedom. There is no greater gift and joy to be able to minister to people through health, through finances, through friendship, and through self-development. And guess what? We have all that. All that. Okay, so forget your emotions. You guys, we must have adversity in order to grow. Whatever your obstacle right now in your head, I would like you to write it down. Is it an unsupportive spouse? Is it a friend that you think is looking down on you for doing what you're doing? Is it your own fear? Are you fearful of what people are going to think of you? This one gets me too, because if you have any Christian walk at all and any faith at all, you're already hated. If you love Christ, you are already hated. So what to be hated twice because you're a Plexus ambassador too? Who cares? All right? Fear, pride, somebody who's unsupportive, somebody who you think is looking, all that stuff, you guys. Think about your obstacles. And here, this is where the hard part comes in. You have got to overcome it. So I'm going to use a couple of things here. Hold on, I'm losing. Sorry, I got off track. I did this in the classroom too. I got to look at my notes. Hold on. Okay. Oh, here we go. This is what I really want to tell you. All right. Never, ever, ever feel. I should look up how many times do we say I feel a day. Never ever feel like because you're being ignored, the little circle of death when somebody looks at your message and doesn't answer or whatever. Or feel like no one is liking your comment. Feel like no one is posting. No one is listening. Don't ever feel that the doing good that you are doing is for nothing. I was watching. I was lurking. I was loved on where I was at by my sponsor. And look what came of it. Do you think she's happy she posted that one time she didn't want to? Do you think she's happy that she loved on me when I was being rude and grumpy? Yeah, better believe it. Okay, so the root of where your obstacle is what you have got to get to. See, your conscious mind does exactly what your subconscious mind tells you. We've heard this 1,000 times when it comes to parenting, breathing life into our kids, right? My son plays soccer, and he is if you know the color personalities, he's a red personality through and through. You would think he would be aggressive on the field. He is timid. He is fearful. He has fun, but he's timid and he's fearful. And it's so tempting to yell from the sidelines, don't be afraid. But but what does that do? What's the main word there? It's not don't, it's afraid, right? So you have got to identify in your obstacles in your own mind, external or internal, what they are, and then change the wording. So instead of yelling from the sidelines, don't be afraid, I yell, be brave, be aggressive, you got it, get that ball. So it's the same thing when you are telling yourself affirmations. Use Bible verses that speak life. Say, I will be bold. What I have to say, people need to hear. People want to listen to me. I have courage. Nothing stops me. Things like that. Change your wording. So identify your obstacle, identify the lies you are telling yourself, and change your wording. Okay. The Bible says in Ephesians 4:29, do not let any unwholesome talk come out of your mouth. How much unwholesome talk are you letting your brain speak to your soul? If your kids were repeating in their head the same things you repeat in yours, would you want them to duplicate you? We ask that about our downline all the time, right? What was your income producing activity today? If your downline did the same thing as you did, would you advance next month? That's how we can kind of keep a check on ourselves. Well, the same thing comes with thoughts. Would you want your precious son or daughter, someone you love dearly, a precious friend, say those things to themselves? Would you want them to duplicate you? If the answer is no, then you must change. And the only way to do that is through discipline. You must identify these thoughts, you must capture them to Christ, and you must replace them with truth. The rest of the verse says this. So it's talking about talk. What kind of talk do we need to hear? No, not let any unwholesome talk, but only what is helpful for building others up according to their needs. That means you too. You only speak to yourself according to your needs what is helpful for building you up. You guys, you cannot pour from an empty cup. You cannot pour on others. You cannot believe in others. You cannot love on others. You cannot help them be the best they can be in your business in Plexus. You can't even believe in them honestly until you believe in you. You can't. It's impossible. You may go a little ways, but then you will get stagnant. You must, and you know, Satan is really good at sneaking those old thoughts in. It takes great discipline and great persistence. Okay, then in the rest of the verse says, according to their needs, that's where you got to figure out where you need it. That's where you figure out the obstacles and the untruths you've been listening to, that it may benefit those who listen. So not only changing your mindset affects you, it's going to affect your spouse. It's going to affect your kids. It's going to affect your team. It's going to affect the person running, going down the road with you that cuts you off. It affects absolutely everything in your life. You guys, I'm going to share a story with you about how my mindset change affected one of my kids so tangibly. It absolutely blows my mind. My kids see me read. Sometimes they steal my self-development books, and I make a big deal, pretend like it's this big deal that they're doing that, but I'm absolutely thrilled, of course. My middle daughter, and it's so hard to be a middle, so hard to be a middle. She loves theater, loves it. She found out this new school she was going to was going to do Willy Wonka. The junior hires were going to do Willy Wonka. She found this out at the beginning of the year. So she pulls up Willy Wonka on YouTube, and she decides she really wants the part of Veruca. She's the spoiled brat. She wants that part. Like, she knows she probably can't get Charlie, right? But she thinks she can get Veruca. Now, this school is entirely performance art based. They do classical schooling, but there's no sports. You guys, there's no sports at this school. It is just performing arts. She was up against a lot. She's a part-time student. She doesn't go full-time. She was brand new this year. And she decided she was going to start telling herself she was going to win Veruca. She was going to be given Veruca. And she told me every time she had a doubt, she said, I will be Veruca. I will get Veruca. But you know what else she did? 3 to 4 months before the audition date, when most kids didn't even care yet, because she had it set in her mind that she was going to earn Veruca, do you know what she did? She put in the hard work already. She looked up YouTube performances. She found the script. She started, and you know what she did with that script? She asked me to print it up. I had no idea till afterwards. She only highlighted Veruca. This girl told herself, 12 years old, she was going to be Veruca no matter what, and she got Veruca. You guys, I believe 100% she would not have been able to be in that place in her mind and be able to self-talk that way and work hard like that unless she'd seen her mom do it. When I must have been about gold when I went to convention for the first time. I was so proud of that gold lanyard. I watched the jewels walk across stage, and I thought, I want to walk across stage as a jewel. So one of the things I'd read or somebody did on a self-development thing, just like this, just like tonight, they said, you got to visualize where you want to be. Physically visualize where you want to be. So you know what I started doing? I started imagining my lanyard printed up with emerald. I started imagining going into my back office and seeing Erin Bush Emerald Ambassador. I started imagining changing my little Facebook information to the fact that I was a jewel, putting it on my business cards. And there's one more thing I started imagining, and I did this every day. I'd get in a quiet spot where I did my self-development, and this was part of what I did. I imagined that someone would stand on stage and say, you know how like if we go to opportunity events, if you're an emerald, stand up. And I would imagine myself standing up. So Leaders Retreat, October, came around, and I was Ruby. And I was sitting next to one of my upline, Stephanie Murray, who was an emerald. And Rita Davenport said, if you're an emerald, stand up. At least I think it was her. Somebody did. Said, if you're an emerald, stand up. I swear to you, my body jerked. Like my muscles contracted in my legs. I put my hands down like I was going to push off a seat. And I probably went maybe half an inch off the chair. And then my whole face flushed. And Stephanie Marie's standing up next to me here. And I lean over to my sponsor and I go, oh my gosh, I almost stood up right now. And I knew I was going to be an emerald. So your mind is so incredibly powerful. So powerful. Wherever you want to be, you have got to taste it, smell it, just know it deeply. But that takes practice, you guys. How many months are between June and October? I was daily saying affirmations. I will be bold. People need what I have. I will be a jewel with plexus. Over and over and over. Okay. And here's the thing though. It doesn't just magically happen, right? It doesn't. That's impossible. Think about my daughter. She had to put in 3 to 4 months of work, but see, her mind already said to herself, I'm going to be Veruca. So what did she do? She started her mind came up with creative ways to make it happen. She went in with the script memorized. She went in with the songs, knowing what the songs were. She went in with the behavior. She had already put in the work. The same thing was for me and Melissa before we're gold. We start gold. We have all that work that happens until we get to emerald. That's a lot of work in between. But your mind, once you believe it, your mind comes up with creative ways to make it happen that you may not have thought of before if your mind didn't believe it's going to happen. Okay, I'm getting off track. Oh, goodness gracious. Okay, so I had unwholesome talk coming from my head to my heart, but you guys, this is a battle worth fighting. If I can change my mindset, fear was put into me. I could not walk to my neighbor's house when I was a kid. This was like in the early 80s. And my family was so inundated with fear. It was a part of who I was. I still battle it. And I just recently had a wisdom tooth out. I was terrified. I was not going to do this like sedation thing. I was just going to get the shot. And I was terrified. So guess what I did? I went on my app, repeat it again. And I started telling myself how getting a wisdom teeth pulled was no big deal and I heal really fast. Over and over and over. I said it to like 13 times. I listened to it 13 times in one setting. And it was a breeze. Well, almost. I put a tea bag in my mouth for like 3 days. But okay, so identifying your mindset issues. Do some soul searching. Change your false beliefs to truth through repetition and deep belief. If you are walking with Christ, your number one thing to changing those unwholesome thoughts that are going from here to here is biblical. You have to change them by looking at what Christ actually says about you, that you are beautifully and wonderfully made. You were not put on this earth for mediocrity. You were put on this earth to influence many, many, many people for the positive. Okay. There's another verse, 2 Corinthians 10:5. It says, we demolish arguments and every pretension that sets itself up against the knowledge of God, and we take captive every thought to make it obedient to Christ. What's fascinating is if you look up this verse, some versions say, we demolish proud obstacles that set us up against the knowledge of Christ, what Christ really believes about, what he thinks about you, his creation. We take captive every thought to make it obedient to Christ. You've got to capture those thoughts, identify and capture them, and then replace them. And you cannot replace them unless you are building verses, you're hiding God's word in your heart, you're reading good self-development books, if you are afraid of failure, read Failing Forward over and over and over. If you are afraid that God does not have good and big and huge expectations, that your dream that you have is yours, read Circle Maker over and over and over by Mark Batterson. I could go on and on and on. There's so many good ones out there. Self-talk, soul talk. If you want a specific plan on how to identify, capture, and replace, read Self-Talk, Soul Talk. Okay, let me look at my notes really quick because then I'm going to get into a couple of practical things really, really quick. There's one more thing I really, really want to tell you because my sponsor, Amber Hargett, who I just think is amazing, used this the other night. So she did not want to post on Facebook about Plexus, about this pink drink she was starting. She was a little bit embarrassed. She didn't want to be that person. And her sponsor just kept saying, just post. Just post. You don't know who's out there. Just post. Just post. And she was talking to us the other night about Esther 4:14. It says, for if you remain silent at this time, relief and deliverance for the Jews will arise from another place, but you and your father's family will perish. And who knows but that you have come to your royal position for such a time as this. So I want to talk about this for a second. If you know the story of Esther, you know that she was married to a very powerful king who had many wives. And you could not come before the king unless he called for you. So when she found out that a decree had been made that her people, the Jews, were going to be completely demolished from the kingdom through slaughter, her uncle, Mordecai, wanted her to go before the king and tell him what was happening because he prized her, and she was terrified. You don't go before the king. You die if you do, unless he calls for you. And Mordecai says to her, if you remain silent at this time, there was a sense of urgency here. Relief and deliverance for Jews will come elsewhere. Maybe later. Maybe down the road, but it will come elsewhere. And Amber thinks about that first post and how she believes that I desperately needed what Plexus had to offer. It was a divine appointment. And she believes that someone would have told me about it if it hadn't been her. But God used her because she was willing to be used. So that is you guys. That is you. You do not know who is watching and lurking and who your next person will be. You do not know. And then when the Bible talks about who knows, Esther, you may have come to your royal position for such a time as this. That 3495 is for such a time as this. You guys, our country, we are hurting. We are divided. And you know what? Plexus is unified. Unified, one Plexus, full of community and support and good people. Heck, if you never make another dollar, you should just be here for all these amazing people. Because that is what life is about. It is about relationships. You will not take your next paycheck with you to the next life, but you will take the relationships you have made. You will be able to influence and minister to others, and they will to you. Okay. All right. I'm going to move from mindset into just a couple of things, because I really believe that mindset is the foundation. And once you have that foundation, then you can move on to action. All right. So we know there are 3 things that cause business to build. The furniture store guy, when you walk in the door, he knows that you are a potential. You are either here and you're going to buy today, or you're not, and it may very well depend upon his action or his inaction. It's the same thing as to who's on. You guys think your entire group of friends is on Facebook as much as you? Absolutely not. I was not on Facebook as much as I am now. So you don't know who is seeing what and when. When you feel prompted, you reach out to somebody. When you feel prompted, you make that post. You guys, let God work through you and work through your influence and your ability to help others. So here is action that develops business. Pitching or presenting products. Now, the word pitch, like to pitch pitch something, you can have a negative connotation. But if you use the phrase pitch in, it means to begin work earnestly and vigorously. So when you are presenting yourself to your social media group or in person, think about how you are pitching yourself, because people are not going to come to you because of the products. They come to you because of you. Yes, the products help. Yes, the business helps. But in the end, they could choose anybody else. They choose you because of you. That's also where mindset comes in, right? Because how can you pour into people if your mindset and your perspective of yourself is not already positive? Okay, and truthful. Number 2, action, negotiating a sale. Now, that means closing. You guys, when you have an opportunity event, and maybe Melissa does the opportunity event for you, and you have 2 potentials that are on. It is your obligation. It is your responsibility to go ask them what they loved the most, what was their favorite part, and then ask for the sale. Let's get you signed up tonight. You buy tonight, you'll get your products by next week. I'm so excited for you. You have got to get on these things and see what I'm talking about. Short, sweet, close the sale, ask for the sale. It is okay to ask them to join you. I think you being a little bossy is a good idea too. Tell them they need it. Look, I have got a solution for you. Did you listen to what they said? This is a solution for you. Let's get you signed up tonight. I'm going to call you in 5 minutes. Whatever. Okay? Whatever you can do to close the sale. Number 3, action that builds your business. Prospecting. Again, this has become such a negative word. It's not at all. All this means is that you have an expectation and anticipation of somebody new coming into your business and into your life that you can help influence and coach and mentor and be there for. That's prospecting, you guys. You must look at the fact that you are selling a product, selling yourself, and selling a business in a positive manner. Do you think that the car salesman who you just bought a car from, who you know just made commission, do you resent him? No, he helped you through the whole process. It's part of it. Guys, it's the same thing. I know we're all yellows and we like to say the word share instead of sell. Get used to the word sell. You are selling. You are selling yourself. Heck, an infant, a baby. I've got a 17-week-old puppy right now. That puppy sells himself. Big eyes, wagging tail, tiny little licks on your face, loving you, loving you. I've been gone for 5 seconds to the bathroom and he comes back and oh my gosh, he's just selling himself. I want to pick him up and cuddle him and just, give him all the food on my plate. You are selling yourself, you guys. It's okay. So is that little toddler who really wants to get out of bed. So is that 8-year-old who's negotiating a later time. We all do stuff like this. It's part of human nature. Get used to those words. Closing, prospecting, negotiating. It does not mean you are a hunter, because if you see prospecting, a potential, as an opportunity to help, and they don't see what you see, you guys. I was 4 months in and I didn't see what there was available until I really saw what there was available. Do you know what I mean? And it took time to love people where they're at. And those people, okay, so one of my the things I hated, oh my gosh, was when a preferred customer order didn't go through, or when an ambassador didn't order that month. I would shut down. I'd be like, I don't even know what to say. I don't even know. Okay, until I was on the receiving end of this. So there was something I really wanted to buy from somebody else, and I just did not have the time. I just kept forgetting. And so she did a pretty decent job following up. But then when my order didn't go through, you know what? I kind of expected her to contact me, and she didn't. So it kind of bugged me, and I examined how I was feeling about the fact that my order didn't go through that month and she didn't contact me. And you know what I thought? She doesn't care. She doesn't care. Do I want to be buying something from someone who doesn't care? No. You guys, be on top of your people. When you have a new customer, a new ambassador, you are on top of them. You make sure they're getting their water in, coming up with ideas for them to be consistent. I have one gal right now, oh my gosh, she has so much going on in her life and she just keeps forgetting. I told her, set an alarm on your phone. She didn't do it. So finally I said, okay, look, take all your products at one time. Just take them all one time. Put them next to your bed. I don't care if you're taking it right before bed. Just get it in your body. It's working. It's working. So but see, I wouldn't know that unless I kept reaching out to her. Are you being consistent? Because if they say at the end of a month, oh, well, I still have 2 weeks left. Can I put then they haven't been taking it consistently. They're little cues that people will tell you that you've got to pay attention to. You have to care enough to push past your fear and find out why they didn't order that month. Hey, your order didn't go through. Let's get it through today. You've got to be consistent. This is like eating broccoli every day. You don't see the results until 4 months in. This is like going to the gym for 4 months. You don't see the results the first week. You're not going to see it for 4 months. You got to be consistent. Let's get your order in. Care enough. So I started thinking, what if this gal had reached out to me and said, hey, I noticed your order didn't go through and you moved months. Tell me what's going on. I would have been like, well, this happened and this happened. And she'd been like, well, you know what she would have done? She would have built my belief. I would hope she would build my belief back up that the products she's selling me work, and I probably would have ordered again. But instead, now it's been 2 months. Do you think I'm likely to go back? Mm-mm. So you've got to be on top of your people. You've got to be on top of your back office, your customer reports, your detailed genealogy. Find out what's going on with your people. That's how you love them. Okay, finally, how do you identify potentials? It is so simple, you guys. Who needs help? Who needs health help? Who needs financial help? Who needs self-development? You don't have to tell them they need self-development. We have it all, though. Who do you know that needs to find their entrepreneurial spirit? Who do you know who sells stuff on eBay? Or, I don't know, did in the past? Or is taking on some overtime? Help them find that. Galatians 6:9 says, let us not become weary in doing good, for at the proper time we will reap a harvest if we do not give up. This is so true. I do not care what your obstacle is. You can overcome it. You are an overcomer. Greater is he that is in us than he that is in the world. Guys, he's much bigger than you. He can take anybody and do anything through them. All right, I know sometimes I freeze, sorry. 2 Thessalonians 3:13, and as for you, brothers and sisters, never tire of doing what is good. Do you believe in the products? Do you believe in the financial possibility? This is doing good. Do you believe in the friendship and the one plexus culture? You guys, this is an equal opportunity. I don't care who you are, from what demographic, from what age, what size. It does not matter. You have the potential to do everybody has $35. Everybody has the internet anymore. And if you don't, you can go to the library and get it, guys. You can go do a power hour at the library for free every day and build a business. This is an equal opportunity, because in a workplace, what happens? There's always this overwhelming kind of like fear you're going to lose your job, because you're not in the position of power. Here you're in the position of power. There is nothing stopping you. Absolutely nothing. There's nothing but you stopping you. This is truly for anyone who has drive, determination, and is coachable. If your fearless leader is offering coaching calls, you better be all over it. And you know what? Here's the other thing too. You learn better if you teach and train yourself. If you have an issue with fear, you get into books and in the Bible, and you ask Melissa if you can do a training for the entire team on fear and how to overcome it. Guess what happens? Yeah. You guys think I'm speaking to you? I'm speaking to me. Come on. Same thing with compensation plans. Same thing with the products. You take every opportunity given to you to teach others so that you can best teach and train yourself. Ask your spouse if you can talk about the compensation plan. Ask a best friend. Say, I've got to give this training in 2 weeks. I'm scared to death. Will you listen to me talk about the compensation plan? Even better if she hasn't joined you yet. Make a list of why network marketing is the best possible equal opportunity business on the planet. Then ask someone who's not on your team if you can do a presentation for them to help you out. You guys, there are some ways to get your friends and your loved ones involved without them even knowing they are. Teaching and training is one of them. Okay, I think that's it. I'm looking real quick to make sure that I've covered everything. I guess the last thing I want to leave you with is truly, you know those people who get really sick and you would never know it? They're so positive. Be that person when it comes to adversity. It doesn't mean you're a Pollyanna and you're not realistic, but it does mean that your perspective about whatever adversity it is positive. All right, I'm done.
Wow. I just took so many notes. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Do you mind if I unrecord us, but if we open it up for a few questions? Do you have a few minutes? Okay.
I do, yes.
I am going to